Today is Thursday, April 30th, and today I want to continue my look at the Lord's Prayer. Yesterday I talked about the call to confession, that we should say to God, "Forgive us our trespasses." Now I want to look at the second half of that sentence. Jesus said, "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us." Now, this is the only part of the Lord's Prayer that Jesus came back to explain more about. After completing the Lord's Prayer, Jesus then returned to talk more about this issue of forgiveness. And he said, "If you forgive men when they sin against you, then your Father in heaven will forgive you. If you do not forgive men of their sins, then your Father will not forgive your sins." Now, this hits on a central theme in Jesus' teaching. That is, God will treat us the same way that we treat other people. If I judge others, then I will be judged. If I condemn people for their sins, I will be condemned for my sins. If I refuse to forgive, then I will not be forgiven. At the same time, if I do not condemn people for their sins, then I will not be condemned for my sins. If I forgive others, I will be forgiven. If I am merciful, then I will be shown mercy. So, clearly, forgiveness is important. And if you are struggling to forgive someone, then let me give you 4 steps towards forgiveness. First, if you're struggling to forgive someone, ask for help. Pray. Ask God to help you forgive this person. When we ask for good things, then our God gives generously. So if you're struggling to forgive someone, make asking God to help you forgive a central part of your daily prayer. Second, start small. Forgive in simple things. If I wanted to take up running, I would not begin by going out tomorrow to run in the Boston Marathon. That would be a disaster. I would need to train for that. In the same way, if I am struggling to forgive someone, then one of the best things I can do is practice forgiveness in smaller things. I begin by forgiving simple things, and I work my way up to the more serious things. Third, recognize your own need for forgiveness. Self-righteousness kills mercy in our lives. If I think that I am basically a good person who doesn't need to be forgiven of anything, then I'm going to find forgiving others to be really difficult. When I recognize my own need for forgiveness, then I'm more able to forgive other people. Fourth and finally, practice empathy. Empathy means that I imagine myself in someone else's situation. And scientific studies have found that the part of our brain that is active when we practice empathy is the same part of our brain that is active when we practice forgiveness. This tells us what common sense should have told us and what the Bible does tell us over and over again. When I put myself in someone else's shoes, then I start to have compassion for that person. And at its core, forgiveness is an act of compassion. Compassion means that I see someone in need and I try to help that person just because he is in need. It doesn't matter if he deserves my help. I help him solely because he is in need of my help. And forgiveness is an act of compassion. No one can deserve forgiveness. If I need forgiveness, that means I have done something wrong and I don't deserve forgiveness. If I deserve forgiveness, it means that I don't really need it. Forgiveness can only come as an act of compassion. It is seeing someone in need and helping that person just because he is in need. It is forgiving someone just because he needs to be forgiven. And it starts with empathy. May God be with you, and I'll see you tomorrow.